Every day, older Australians suffer at the hands of those who are supposed to care for them. Some even die. Elder abuse takes many forms. It includes psychological and social abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, financial abuse, and neglect. It can happen many times, or it can happen just once. If it harms or distresses the older person, that's abuse. Many people think elder abuse typically occurs in residential care, but in fact most cases of abuse actually happen in the community, in people's own homes, committed by family and friends. Today's older Australians, including people with dementia who are at even higher risk of abuse, are increasingly being cared for in their own homes, and so this exposes them to the risk of abuse. As a care worker, you have a duty of care to protect the people you support, so it's your responsibility to recognise and report any abuse. During this programme, you'll begin to develop the knowledge to identify signs of suspected abuse and the confidence to make a report. In the following scenarios, see if you can spot any signs of possible abuse.
There should be money there. I've got savings. I don't understand.
G'day, Fern. How's it going?
Good morning, Edward.
Listen, Mum's not feeling well. She's decided she's not going out today.
Oh, well, that's no good.
Have you seen my Webster pack? No.
Now you're going to watch the same scenes again in more detail. This time, Associate Professor Linda Starr, who's an expert in elder abuse prevention, is going to guide us through the things we need to look out for.
I don't know. I don't understand why. It all says insufficient funds.
Just mine as well.
Thank you. I don't understand. Why? Why would that be? There should be money there. I've got savings. And the pension was yesterday, so there should be something there.
Well, in this scenario, you should be thinking of a number of possibilities. In the first place, it could be a bank error. There may be an ATM error. It may be that the gentleman didn't have any money in his bank. It also could be that it wasn't pension day yesterday. However, given that this man appears to be quite lucid at the moment, having a look at his ATM slips, quite sure that it was pension day yesterday and that he had money in there anyway, it's worth following it up. There could be that someone has access to his accounts and is actually taking the money without his consent. So a report would be a good thing in case it's financial abuse.
We'll find out what's happened, Mr. Brown. Well, I'm just going to give my coordinator a ring and let her know what's happened.
Hello, Cheryl speaking.
Hi, it's Alison. I'm just with Mr. Brown at the shops, and he's been to the ATM and his receipt shows insufficient funds every time he tries.
Is he sure there's money in there?
Yes. Well, it was pension day yesterday, so there should at least be that in there.
Okay. Look, can you put him on and I'll talk to him?
Thank you. Hello?
Look, I've just heard what's happened, and I'm going to get the program coordinator to come out to you, and also I'm going to contact your daughter, if that's okay.
Thank you. She's going to talk to my daughter.
Okay. Alison, can you please make sure that you write everything in the notes when you get back?
Yes. Thanks. Bye. Let's head home, shall we?
Yeah. Yes.
We'll try to find out what happened, Mr. Brown.
Did you notice how Alison only reported the facts to her supervisor? She only reported those things that she saw and heard. She made no assumptions and she came to no conclusions. I noticed the supervisor reminding Alison to make notes straight away. It's important that Alison writes down the details of the conversation that she's had with this gentleman and the things that she's noticed whilst it's still fresh in her mind.
In this case, a family member took advantage of Mr. Brown's early stage dementia. They made a second card and withdrew the funds from his bank account. Alison recognised that there might be abuse and she reported it to her supervisor. And that made all the difference. Financial abuse can also include stealing, denying a person access to their money, or, as we've just seen, misusing their bank or credit cards, having contractors quote for unnecessary work, overcharging or failing to complete work to an adequate standard.
If you get your card and that, I'll take you down the bank and bring you back. I've got a lot of bills to pay.
It's a lot.
Oh, a lot of work.
Remember, even if you only have a suspicion of abuse, you must report it to your supervisor.
Hey Mum, try and have a good day. I've left you a cuppa on the counter and there's a sandwich in there for you. G'day Fern.
Good morning, Edward.
Listen, she's decided she's not going to go out today. I've already called your office.
Okay, well that's no good. Look, I just have to go and check on
Look,
her.
it's not necessary. She's probably resting at the moment.
Oh, well, I just have to check on her anyway. Mrs. Douglas? Hi. Edward mentioned you're not feeling well today. You're not up to art classes.
Oh, Fern, I'm sorry to come all this way. No, not today.
Oh, but you love your art classes. Are you sure?
No, not today.
Look, Mum's made a decision. She's not going today.
No, I don't really feel like going today. Thanks anyway.
Okay, well, bye, Mrs. Douglas. See you soon. Bye, Edward.
See you, Fern. Thanks for coming. Hey, Mum, why don't you just go and have your cup of tea? And sorry the phone's not working. Then go have a rest.
In this scenario, there are a number of possibilities that could be occurring. It could be some form of psychological abuse by the son to his mother. It also could be social isolation. Quite often, psychological abuse and social isolation occur together. You don't see psychological abuse, but what you're picking up from her is the signs of it, like that the look that she's got no eye contact, she's not convincing in her denial that she doesn't want to go. That's kind of a sign of psychological abuse. So you don't actually see him towering over her because he's standing behind the nurse and he's kind of not threatening her with a threatening look. So you can't say that you can see psychological abuse, but you can certainly see the signs of it, I think. The social isolation, of course, is that issue. Like I said, the phone's cut off or it's not working at least. He's given her lunch so that she's not expected that she'd go out the house or that she needs anything. So that's kind of like the social isolation.
Psychological abuse is most often verbal. It can involve threats, harassment and shouting. It can also take the form of withholding affection and not letting the person make their own decisions about their life. Now here's something you didn't see in the scenario.
Hey Mum, try and have a good day. I've left you a cuppa on the counter and there's a sandwich in there for you.
So what Edward has done is a form of social isolation. Remember how he made reference to the fact that the phone doesn't work. So he's isolated his mother from being able to talk to other people using the telephone. He's also locked the door, which prevents her from leaving her environment. The locked door also stops people from visiting his mother, and it also prevents her from visiting her art class friends if she should change her mind later on.
Social abuse tends to be about creating circumstances where the older person can't interact with other people. This may be through locking the door so they can't get out. Or it may be through the carer of the relative staying close to the older person and preventing them from having any access or any free conversation with other people.
The older person may feel reluctant to talk about what's going on. Often they feel that they're to blame. It's important to respond as Fern did and make the report to your coordinator. Once the report has been made, it's important that the client is supported in regards to what happens next. They should be included in the decision-making process about what steps will be taken in the particular scenario.
See if you can identify any possible signs of
Mrs.
abuse.
Johnson. How are you today? Are you okay, Mrs. Johnson? You seem quiet. Hi, Eric. How about you take a seat down here and I'm just going to go and have a look at the care plan and then I'm going to get the bathroom ready for your shower. Good. Okay, I'll be back in a minute.
Hey Joan, look at this one. This is pretty good. Look at the skateboarding. You don't like that one? Okay, what about this one? This one's pretty good.
Mrs. Johnson, you right for your shower now? I have all of the clothes that you've chosen laid out and ready to go. You right? There you are.
Well, it's difficult when you come across a scene like that to work out exactly what you should do. Because in the first instance, you're probably not going to automatically think that this could be a crime scene and that this position of the underwear and the condition of the underwear might well be evidence that could be useful for the police to investigate a possible sexual assault. However, after you have had sufficient insight and training into what could be a sexual assault, generally you would develop that kind of knowledge and skills, and then you would always approach any suspicious scene in regards to where it could be a physical or sexual assault by looking for cues, and the cues in this particular case would be the underwear. And then that would be one of the things that you would just think of automatically in regards to, is this a normal event or is this perhaps a criminal event? In that case, leaving it exactly as it is the best thing you can do. The fact that the carer was wearing gloves was good, because even though she handled the evidence, she was wearing gloves, and so that reduces the contamination, which is a useful thing for police when they investigate, and that can always help in regards to preserving that kind of evidence. Sexual abuse, like other forms of abuse, is difficult to detect. The signs aren't readily identifiable. Sexual abuse also covers a wide range of behaviours, from sexual harassment, sexual assault, rape, and inappropriate touching. These tend to be really subtle situations, and it's up to the individual to pick up on the cues. And maybe the cues that she's picking up on here is the tension between the two, and that she's not behaving the way she would expect her to behave.
The blood on Mrs. Johnson's pants was in fact the result of a medical condition. The most important thing was that Alison reported her concerns, and the coordinator was able to investigate.
It's a nice top you're wearing, Mrs. Graham.
Oh, thank you. I've only worn it once before. Have you seen my Webster pack?
No. How did that happen?
I'm old. I bump into things.
Can I help you?
Oh, here it is. Oh, it's empty.
Was the new one around anywhere?
I don't know. My daughter does those things.
I'll just go and ask her, shall I?
All right.
In this scenario, the first thing that you would notice with that particular bruise is that she's saying she's always bumping into things, but how often do you bump into something with a bruise on the inside of your arm? And so that's a good indicator that that's a non-accidental injury, because if you're going to bump into things, it tends to be in the front of your legs, so front of your legs and more likely below the knee. It certainly can happen above the knee, but it's more likely below the knee. And it's going to be your forearms or at least perhaps the lateral side of your arms. You're not going to bump into something and get a bruise on the inside of your arm. So that would be a good indicator that's a non-accidental injury. In regards to the medication, the Webster pack, again, it's one of those scenarios where you need to think about, is it due to be refilled? Has it been completed and the daughter just hasn't got the new Webster pack? Or has somebody actually, for whatever reason, destroyed the medication, or perhaps even given this person excessive amounts of medication so that the doses have been given before they're actually due and therefore it's run out ahead of time. So there are a number of scenarios available as a possibility for that. The other thing, of course, it could be that the client themselves has mistakenly taken the medication. So some further questions to the client in regards to who gives out the medication. Is it the responsibility of the daughter or does she do it herself? Would help clarify exactly who actually has the medication and who dispenses it in that regards.
Excuse me, Hannah? Your mum's medication pack is empty and she can't find her new one. She also says she hasn't taken any medication today.
I'm not sure if she has any. I haven't been to the chemist today.
Okay, also there's a really large bruise on her upper arm. Any idea how she got it?
She's always bumping herself. She's getting very unstable.
Okay, thanks.
The daughter to me looks like somebody who is totally obsessed with her own self-interest. She's more interested in using the computer than she is in engaging with the carer who's come around to provide support for the mother. And so in that regards, I would say that she's just totally self-interested and has little interest for her mum or her mum's welfare.
Mrs. Graham, I'm just popping out to the car. I'll be back in a moment.
All right, love.
Unlike other forms of abuse, physical abuse is often plain to see, and so is the evidence it leaves behind. Both Mrs. Graham and her daughter have explanations for the bruises, so it's important that Alison objectively reports what she sees and hears.
Yeah, I'm just at Mrs. Graham's right now, and her Webster pack is empty. Yeah, Hannah says she doesn't know if there's any other medication, and also, just to let you know that Mrs. Graham has a fairly large bruise on her upper right arm. Both her and Hannah say that she keeps walking into things.
She updates her client's communication notes and reports her observations to her supervisor, following the organisation's policies and procedures.
There are signs to look for that will help give you some clarity in regards to the nature of the injuries, what's an accidental or a non-accidental injury. For example, there could be a history of different stages of healing for bruises and burns. There may also be a history of the individual going to different doctors and different hospitals for injuries over a short period of time.
The fact that Mrs. Graham has no medication is obviously a source of concern. Over or underuse of medication may be a form of physical abuse. It can be difficult to spot, so you need to be vigilant.
If you suspect abuse, the first thing you must question is whether or not your client is in any danger. If they are, then it's really important that you follow your organisation's policies and procedures for managing the emergency situation.
In any event, you must make a report to your supervisor or line manager, so they can tell you what to do.
You fancy a cup of fern?
I'll make it. You sit down. Would you like coffee or tea?
Hey?
Tea or coffee?
Oh, tea, please.
Okay. So how have you been since I last saw you?
Sorry, so what was that?
Oh, Mr. Ignatius, do you have your hearing aid in? Is it switched on?
No, it got broken and The family said I can't have another one.
Well, maybe they meant that you need to have it repaired. Shall I take a look at it?
I'll show it to you before you go, but I don't know where it is.
Don't worry, we'll find it. So how was your weekend?
My daughter came over on Saturday. I don't see enough of her anymore. She used to come a lot more. Busy.
Mr. Ignatius, there's no food in your fridge. We did the shopping on Friday. Surely you can't have eaten it all over the weekend.
My daughter took some stuff. She hasn't got enough food in her house. I mean, she never gets time to go to the shops. It's all right. It's okay now.
Well, we can't leave you without any food. We'll have to go and get some.
Because there's two indicators. One, he needs a hearing aid and he hasn't got it. So there's an aid that he needs that he's not getting. And the second one is that he's left without food and that she knows herself that they had food Friday. It's been 2 days. So it would be really a breach of their duty of care not to report it. Even if it's a suspicion that they've got and it proves to be unfounded, it may well be for this gentleman at this time that the family said, "Oh, Dad, you don't need a hearing aid." And maybe they were caught short for food this weekend and the daughter had a legitimate reason and Dad said, "Okay, take it, I'll get some more next time." It may well be the scenario. But if it's not, then to fail to report, you're leaving this gentleman in a situation of risk where it will continue to be denied these things and eventually his health will suffer as a result of it. Whilst most type of abuse involves actions, neglect often is a failure to act or inaction. Neglect is either intentional or unintentional. Intentional neglect occurs when a family member or a carer either abandons a person or fails to provide them with the necessities of life, food, fluid, the opportunity to have appropriate clothing and to have good hygiene. Unintentional neglect, on the other hand, usually involves a family member not knowing or understanding what is needed for the older person. So rather than it be a deliberate failure to provide them with the necessities of life, they just don't understand what it is that they should do. Regardless of whether it's intentional or unintentional, neglect still needs to be reported because the effect on the older person is just the same.
Whatever the forms of abuse, financial, psychological, social, sexual, physical, or neglect, care workers play a vital role in recognising the signs. But it's not enough for you just to recognise the signs or to suspect there may be abuse. You have to do something about it.
As a care worker, it's important that you understand how to recognise signs of abuse. Quite often, it is the care worker who is the first person to be in a position to be able to identify and respond to an older person who's been abused. Therefore, it is really important that you understand what it is that you need to do once you suspect or have witnessed a case of elder abuse.
Your organisation will have specific policies for reporting suspected abuse. They may also liaise with other services like the police, hospitals, ACAT teams, guardianship agencies, sexual assault, and mental health services. You need to ensure that the client's safe and follow your organisation's policies and procedures. Even when you just suspect there's something wrong, you must still report it to your coordinator. We didn't show you how all the scenarios you've seen today were resolved. In real life, you may never know the outcomes of any suspected abuse that you report. But you can know you've done everything you can to stop abuse from happening.
Once you make a report, it may be some time before you hear from anyone in regards to the progress of a case. This can be frustrating for some people because you might feel as though you've made a report and that no one's doing anything. But unfortunately, in these circumstances, these kind of investigations take some time. So whilst you may not be hearing anything, it doesn't mean to say that people aren't taking any action.
As a care worker, you have a duty of care to protect older people from abuse. By being aware of the risks, alert to the signs, and ensuring you report your concerns, you can play a vital role in protecting some of the most vulnerable people in our community. You're the eyes and ears of your organisation, and that means the things you report can make a huge difference to the quality of life of the people you serve. You can stop unnecessary suffering. You may even save a life.